We're here with Lisa Shumate, Executive Director of Houston Public Media. Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Shumate.
Natalie, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so give us a brief explanation of Houston Public Media.
Well, Houston Public Media is the combination of 3 media outlets that are public stations. That means non-commercial, educationally focused service to the community. And those 3 stations are Houston PBS, Channel 8, KUHF FM, which is the NPR member station in Houston, and Classical 91.7 FM, which is all classical music. And those entities combined and the website comprise Houston Public Media, which is licensed to the University of Houston. On a typical business day, there are many meetings, and those meetings can be anywhere from people on campus that we work with and collaborate with on projects, to community members who are either donors or supporters or who have interesting stories for us to work on. It can be internal constituents, of course. It could be underwriters. It could be foundations. And so I think really my job is very much about getting the lay of the landscape of Houston and connecting the dots between people in need and people who can help them, between educational assets that we can, bring to little children who are preparing to go to school, news and information, stories about our city. We have an education desk, we have health and science, we have business, we have energy and environment. So we take deep dives in those areas on our news side, and then in Classical Station we support Houston arts community. So my day is intersecting on all those fronts.
So what is your favorite thing about your job?
Just that, the community connection.
That's great.
We are Houston Public Media. The first word in our name is Houston. We are absolutely about Houston. And we serve Houston through education, arts and culture, news and information. And it is very rewarding. We're all very excited about this time where the city is growing so much in every way possible, economically, geographically, as far as the development that's happening, and its national status is growing. And so when you're in public media and you can be truly focused on the mission, it is just a very rewarding occupation, and it really connects you with a very interesting group of people.
Is it true that Houston PBS is the first national broadcasting system?
Houston PBS was the country's first educational television station. So again, licensed by the FCC as a non-commercial station for the purpose of education.
You earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Communications at Loyola University in New Orleans, Louisiana. So was it an easy decision for you to choose your major?
The school was an excellent place for the major at that time, but I have to say that in my high school years, I just was drawn to the idea of being in television. And I wasn't exactly sure what I would do. I was very interested in journalism. I was always also interested on the business side, and I wound up going to the journalism side first, so it was an easy decision. It was the only thing I ever seriously wanted to do. And so at that point, and that would be my advice, if there is only one thing that you are passionate about, figure out a way to do it. Just do it. Dive in and figure it out, because otherwise you really will work for a living. If you do something you love, you never feel like you are truly working for a living.
So how does your story progress to becoming executive director of this multimedia entity?
Well, as I mentioned, I did start in journalism as a reporter, but really, if I'm truthful, I started answering the phones, because when you're getting out with your degree, or in my case, I tried to get this job prior to the degree, you take any job you can get. And that was actually a fantastic place to get a view of everything coming into the station. You know who's calling, you get to learn all the different departments. Well, that's sales, that's engineering, that's accounting, that's news. And so it was a wonderful beginning. And then, you just kind of have a sense for when it's time to go to the next step. And for me, in a good way and in a bad way, I would learn something and then I was ready to move on. And sometimes I was really ready to move on, like I really was prepared, and sometimes I just thought I was and I really wasn't. And so usually when that's the case, it just doesn't happen on your timeline.
Right.
And so the thought progression was, as a reporter, because that was the first big goal, is to become a reporter. So from the night switchboard, I went to public affairs and learned all about public service announcements and all the things that the station did to serve the community. That taught me how to produce, and then I was able to produce for a television show called PM Magazine that was locally produced and with national segments. Then once I sort of learned producing and writing, I really wanted to do stories that were, more news in nature.
Right.
And they let me start out in the newsroom where, the first story, you just don't quite know what you're doing, and you have to be willing to not be the best. You have to be willing to make mistakes and know that you're just going to pick yourself back up again and start over. And so I always say, instead of good experiences and bad experiences, they're just experiences. And all experiences have a value in what they teach you. And you will always learn more from the experiences that don't go like you think they will and may not have the happiest ending. Those are the ones you learn from, and the ones you really have to make sure you don't repeat the same actions that got you in that place. So then from reporting, I wanted to do anchoring. And, I have to say that I worked at that. I took diction lessons. I practiced reading. I looked at how, the whole package is on camera. You just have to do your best to perfect what it is you're trying to do. And after a while of being on the on-camera side, as fulfilling as it is, and yes, the recognition that you get, I still had a quest to learn more about the business. And that really led me to the business side, where I learned about sales. Where does the money come from that runs the operation? And then also about marketing. How do you get the word out? How do you differentiate what you do from other stations? And then really running the business, and that is running the departments. Instead of having expertise in running a department, running multiple departments and seeing how it all connects together.
Yeah, having a realm of expertise in several different fields instead of looking at one specialization and thinking, okay, I'll just do that as a career.
And then, before I said, when you love something, you don't ever work a day in your life. And that's true in that I've always loved it, never not loved it. But loving something means you're passionate about it. So sometimes when you're passionate, the highs are higher and the lows are lower. You take things more personally. And you do have to make sacrifices. So for instance, you might have to move around a little bit, which for some people could be considered a sacrifice. You might make some lateral moves, so not everything is a promotion. And sometimes you get promoted and the entity you get promoted to loses some of its footing, doesn't make money, and you have to go back a few rungs. So I in no way want to lead anyone to believe that if you're going to be successful in a career, it's just a smooth progression of promotions. That's not real. The real life is ups and downs, sideward moves, backward moves.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
But what is the winning hand at the end of the day is the persistence. And learning from the experience and just saying, oops, okay, didn't go quite like I thought, get up and keep going.
What can a young prospective student do now for the same career path?
Well, I suggest the earlier you start to take steps towards entering the field, the better, because it's highly competitive and the landscape is changing so very much. I don't have to tell you how much people are on the internet and consuming media in different ways on their phones, all kinds of mobile screens, over the internet. So the constellation of skills that are needed would include good writing and editing skills. It would be and I mean literally video editing as well as copyright editing. It would be the idea of being able to interview and succinctly tell a story, a curiosity, a knowledge of current events and world events. Would all be really important as a foundation. So be a good student and be well-rounded. The second thing would be to find those entrees, whether it is a local suburban paper, a radio station, television station, anything, any kind of a media outlet, a website, a digital magazine. Get your foot in the door and then just try to work your way up from there. and get as many of experiences as you can. The sooner you can do that, the better, and that will distinguish you. The other thing I say is leadership. Anybody in a hiring position is going to go and know, what were you like in high school? Were you that person that was the president of the honor society, president of your class? Were you that person that was an organizer of goodwill events and civic events? Were you that person that was an athlete? Were you that person, what did it, music, what did you do to distinguish yourself to be selfless and lead? So leadership skills are extremely important, even if you are considering yourself, a journalist. Because in the journalism field, there are editors and there are news directors, and those require leadership skills. So if you want to advance and have a long career, you have to keep compiling your skill set and growing your skill set. You can't say in words really how important math and science is. The jobs of the future are going to depend on skills in math and science.
Right.
And our business alone, as far as technology and the different devices that are going to be coming out in the future, the technical knowledge, the math skills are going to really determine how far anyone goes, because math skills, it's all going to be about metrics and being able to read audience reports and determining where those audiences are coming from and how you can reach them. So analytical skills, math, science skills are extremely important.
What opportunities are available for students who want to get more involved?
Well, internships are absolutely important. And so if you can find media companies that offer internships, that is a great foot in the door. And they could be all over the building, and with us being at the University of Houston, we really like to use interns in every department. And so in the case of digital, someone interested in that, we have a digital internship, and it's focused on working with the folks who are populating our website and also serving up sources through our Public Insight Network, which is a database that you register for.
Explain how technology is used and how it compares to art and communications, film studies, other fields like that.
Well, the technology used for radio and television really hasn't changed since the very beginning in terms of it being over the air. And so we have transmitters and towers that send our signal literally over the air. Now, in the home, you can take in that signal via satellite, cable, over the air, or in some cases through over-the-top internet type connections. So the options are there for the consumer, and technology is playing an increasing role in our business too, because we're able to do hubbing of certain services like master control, where all of the programming you see is pushed out of. Also, there's hubbing due to technology in some stations for graphics or accounting. So there's lots of ways that technology is enabling the machines to do more of the work. But you still have to have people who know those systems and have the end game skill that's needed, whether it is engineering, artist, accountant, you still are going to need that as well. But technology is playing an increasing role just like it is in every other business.
So those that are involved in technology, like at Houston Public Media, does it really matter what major they go into, or does it just depend on, like, they learn on the job how the system works?
No, I think it does matter. I mean, I think, you have to be an engineer to understand broadcast engineering. You need to know something about IT to keep our computers all connecting and working to each other. I think the other thing that's very important to understand is how systems relate to each other, so that the system that's used in accounting connects with the system that's used to put underwriting messages in to play out over the air. So no, I think you do have to have education and understand the technology that's available.
How abundant are women in the field of communications or media technology?
In the field of communications, just in general, there are quite a number of women. There are less women than men as general managers, and there are a lot less women than men running the technology departments. There are many reasons for that. I think just the culture when women my age now were growing up. It was certain fields are just filled with women, public relations, media, and the math and science fields didn't attract women. And people have speculated that it's everything from girls being programmed that the most important thing to do was to get married, and so being attractive to boys meant sometimes not going into math and science, or would that, just all kinds of strange stuff that is counterproductive to reaching your potential. And so I think I could begin to say all of the reasons why. Also, I think kids repeat what they hear their parents say, and if your parents said, "Oh, I'm not good at math, I'm no good at math," then you're not going to think you are. And so maybe it's no accident that engineers often have children who become engineers, because engineers never say they're not good at math or science. And so is it the societal, or is it DNA? Is it environment, or is it the way you're wired? It's probably a little bit of both. But we definitely need to change the conversation when it comes to math and science. And we need to know everyone. There's no option here. You have to know math and science. And you have to be as good at it as you can possibly be, because those are the jobs of the future. That's why we have to change the conversation. We have to change the conversation, and we have to start from the earliest years. Just like we really promote kids learning multiple languages, that's all it is. It's a different language. And once you know those other languages, you can't unknow it. And your brain expands, and you're able to learn, and your capacity expands, and your future will expand as well. So we have to stop that. Things that we're not even aware of. Even shows like Big Bang Theory that really are around, math and science and promoting students studying it, they're completely stereotyped.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's just, it can't be that way. Or the great primetime drama that shows this very smart woman who then winds up being a psychopath, I mean, that has to stop. I mean, entertainment is entertainment, but in our everyday lives and culture, we have to really get out there that math and science, it's not an option. You have to know it, and you have to excel at it if you want to live up to your potential.
Do you feel that Houston Public Media could benefit from more women working?
I think we can benefit, but I also think we can play a leading role in changing this conversation. We already run Science Fridays. We're looking at more partnerships that promote women who are in science and technology fields. There's a brand new show coming out on PBS called Peg and Cat. And Peg and Cat are always getting into trouble that require using their math skills to get them out of trouble.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And so, in classical music, there's a very strong correlation between that and people who are engineers and mathematicians. The music and the timing and all that. There's a connection there. So I think it's very important for us to play a leading role in changing the conversation about math and science.
This is Lisa Shumate, Executive Director of Houston Public Media. Thank you for taking time to come and talk with us.
Natalie, thank you so much, and congratulations on your pursuit of the Gold Award for the Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts is a tremendous organization, and it too will play an important role in our future.
Thank you.